Jinwoo moved through the endless noise of Waystation Kepri. Around him, the universe was a busy, loud, and bright place. Tall, insect-like Vri traders clicked as they passed. Hulking Taurans bellowed orders about cargo. Lights from 100 different shops and signs flashed in colors human eyes found harsh. The air smelled of strange spices, machine oil, and the dry, clean scent used to filter it all that he did not notice most of it anymore. To Jinwoo, it was all just gray static, a background noise to his life. His job was on Docking Arm 7. It was a human sector handling cargo from Earth and its colonies. But they did not handle weapons or ship parts. Jinwoo's company moved what his boss called cultural items. Today, it was 2 large storage units. One was full of data drives holding old Earth music and flat pictures called films. The other held sealed containers of seeds from Earth plants, meant for a colony garden light years away. "Seal is good, load it," Jinwoo said to the loading drone. His voice was flat. He watched as the drone locked the container to a magnetic cart. His job was to watch, to check lists, and to make sure nothing was broken. It was simple work. It did not require much thought. This was good, because Jinwoo's mind was often somewhere else. A memory came, sharp and sudden, not of the station but of a mountain on Earth. Siraxin. The air was cold and clean, not recycled. The leaves on the trees were fire red and sunshine yellow. Sujin was there, laughing, her breath making a small cloud in the air. She held his hand. Her hand was warm. The memory faded. The cold metal of the station came back. The beeping of scanners. The distant rumble of a ship taking off. His friend Chul walked over. Chul worked the next bay over. "Jinwoo, you look like you saw a ghost," Chul said, his voice kind. "Just tired," Jinwoo replied. It was the answer he always gave. "You should come to the mess hall." A new shipment of kimchi came in. The real stuff from home. "Maybe later," Jinwoo said. He would not go. He would get a nutrition bar from the dispenser near his bunk and eat it alone. Chul nodded, not pushing. Everyone knew about Sujin. Everyone knew the quiet man in Docking Arm 7 carried a quiet grief. They left him to it. The shift ended with a loud buzzer. Jinwoo handed his scanner to the next worker. He walked out of the busy dock and into the crowded main corridor. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around him. He was just another body in the stream. He felt no connection to any of it. He was a ghost moving through a living world. He did not go to his bunk right away. Instead, he took a turn into a quieter section of the station. It was the botanical atrium. It was not big, just a room some engineer had made with plants from different worlds. It was meant for air cleaning, but few people came here. The light was soft and blue, coming from fake sun lamps. The air was damp and smelled of soil and green things. It was the closest thing to peace he could find. He sat on a bench near some ferns from his own homeworld. Their green was a familiar, comforting color. He closed his eyes. Here, the station's noise was a distant hum. Here, he could almost pretend. But the memory of the mountain was gone. All that was left was the hollow feeling. The feeling of being lost. Sujin had been his home. When she died, he had left Earth, thinking a new place would help. But you cannot run from a feeling. He had just brought it with him, across the stars, to this gray metal station. He opened his eyes and looked at his hands. They were good hands. They could fix a broken cargo seal. They could operate a loading drone. But they felt useless. They could not hold what he had lost. A station announcement echoed softly in the atrium. A ship was arriving from the Orion sector. Passengers for transfer should go to Gate 12. Life went on. The station did not care about his grief. The universe did not care. He stood up. It was time to go back to his bunk, to another sleep filled with dreams of the past. As he walked toward the door, he heard a sound. It was a small sound, a catch of breath, a tiny shuffle. He stopped. The atrium was supposed to be empty. He listened. There it was again. A soft, hiccuping sound, like a child trying not to cry. He turned slowly, looking past the broad leaves of the ferns, toward a cluster of tall, glowing mushrooms from some distant world. There, in the dim blue light, he saw a small shape curled into a ball. It was a little alien girl. She was small, with smooth gray skin. She wore a simple silver tunic that was now dirty at the edges. Her head was tucked into her knees, but he could see delicate, pointed ears. And then, she moved, lifting her head just a little point too large. Liquid silver eyes looked directly at him, wide with fear. On her temples, he saw patches of skin that pulsed with a soft, distressed pink light, like a heartbeat made visible. She was utterly alone, and she was terrified. Jinwoo stood very still. He was not good with people. He was certainly not good with children. The right thing to do was to call station security. Let them handle it. But as he looked into those scared, shining eyes, he did not move. He did not reach for his comm unit. The girl's fear was a real, live thing in the quiet room. It was not a memory. It was now, slowly, so as not to scare her more, he crouched down. He made himself smaller. He kept a distance. The little girl watched him. Her temple lights flickered from pink to a pale, questioning blue. She did not speak. But a moment later, a thought, clear and direct, popped into his mind. It came through his old, basic neural implant, translating her wordless communication into words he could understand. The voice in his head was small, melodic, and trembling. "Are you lost too, Mr. Human?" The words hung in Jinwoo's mind. "Are you lost too?" They were so simple, and they cut through the gray static of his life like a sharp knife. For a long moment he just crouched there, looking at the little alien girl. Her silver eyes were huge, fixed on him. The soft blue light on her temples flickered, waiting. He realized she had spoken to him with her mind. She was an illusion. He had seen her species before, passing quietly through the station. They were peaceful, known for their mental communication and gentle ways. That he cleared his throat. His own voice felt rough from lack of use. "I am not lost," he said softly, speaking in basic galactic trade. He kept his hands open and resting on his knees, trying to look harmless. "But I can see that you are." He pointed a finger slowly toward his own chest. "My name is Jinwoo." The girl uncurled a little. She was very small. Her delicate fingers clutched at the fabric of her tunic. Her light shifted to a wary yellow. "Mira." The thought came into his head. It was a whisper. "Hello, Mira," Jinwoo said. He gave a small, careful nod. He did not smile. A smile could mean too many different things to different species. A nod was usually safe. "How long have you been here?" Mira's gaze dropped. She hid her face again for a second. When she looked up, her thoughts were a sad, confused jumble that his implant could barely sort. Many sleeps. The lights went off and on many times. My cousin was supposed to be here, at the big silver door. Gate 4. I waited. He did not come. A cold feeling settled in Jinwoo's stomach. A child, alone on this massive station for days. Gate 4 was on the other side of Kepri. It was a busy, impersonal arrivals area. Anyone could get lost there. Anyone could be overlooked. "Where is your home?" he asked. "Illusia," she thought, and a wave of homesickness hit him so strongly through the link that he almost flinched. It was a deep, aching feeling, and it was far too familiar. It was followed by an image of wide, calm fields under a purple sky. "And you were traveling with your cousin? Just the two of you?" "Yes, to meet my parents on a new world. They went ahead. He was bringing me." Her temple lights dimmed to a mournful gray. "I cannot feel him. The station is too loud. Too many minds. I am alone." Jinwoo understood being alone. He understood it more than anything. He looked at this small, lost creature, shivering behind glowing mushrooms, and he knew he could not just walk away. Calling security suddenly felt wrong. They would put her in a cold room, ask her questions, treat her like a problem to be solved. He remembered the hollow feeling in his own bunk. He would not send her to a version of that. Slowly, he reached into the pocket of his work jacket. He pulled out a sealed nutrition bar. It was plain, beige, and boring, but it was food. He placed it on the floor between them and gently pushed it toward her with one finger. Mira stared at the bar. Her biological lights pulsed a faint, curious green. She was hungry. He could feel the want coming from her. "It is safe," he said. "It is from my world. It does not taste like much, but it will help." Hesitantly, one small gray hand reached out. Her fingers were long and thin. She picked up the bar, turning it over. She looked at him, then back at the bar. She used a tiny nail to puncture the wrapper and took a small, careful bite. Her face did not change much, but her temple lights flashed a bright, surprised yellow. "It is salty," she thought. "Yes," Jinwoo said. "It is." She took another, bigger bite. As she ate, she seemed to relax, just a little. The terrified pink glow was gone. Now she was a mix of soft blue and green. She was still scared, but she was also curious about him. "You are not like the other humans who shout," she thought. "No," he agreed. "I do not shout much. Why do you come here?" "To the quiet plant room." Jinwoo looked at the ferns beside him. He thought of Sujin. He thought of the mountains. "It reminds me of home. The green color. It is peaceful." Mira finished the bar. She carefully folded the wrapper into a tiny square. "Your home is green? My home is purple and silver." She sent him another quick image. Shimmering, silver grass under a twilight sky. "That looks very beautiful," Jinwoo said, and he meant it. He shifted his weight. His knees were starting to ache from crouching. "Mira, we need to find your cousin. But we cannot stay here. Will you come with me? I will help you look." Fear flashed across her face again. Her light went pink. She pulled back. "I will not take you anywhere bad," Jinwoo said, his voice low and steady. "We will go to the station master. He has lists of all the ships and people. He can look for your cousin's name. It is the fastest way." He stood up, moving very slowly. He held out his hand, not to grab hers, but just to show her. "You can hold my sleeve if you want, or you can walk beside me. I will walk very slow." Mira looked from his face to his hand. The station was loud and big and scary, but this Mr. Human had given her food. His thoughts, what little she could sense of them, were not loud and sharp. They were quiet and sad, like a deep, still pool. And he had said he was not lost. He knew where things were. She uncurled herself completely and stood up. She was even smaller than he thought. She did not take his hand, but she stepped closer until she was standing right beside his leg, looking up at him. "I will walk beside you," her thought came, firm but small. "Do not walk fast, please." "I will not," Jinwoo promised. And so, the tall, quiet human and the tiny, lost illusion girl walked out of the blue-lit atrium together. They moved into the roaring, neon river of the main corridor. Mira pressed herself close to his side, her small fingers now gripping the fabric of his pants pocket for balance. Jinwoo walked with a new purpose, his own hollow feeling pushed aside by a simple, clear task: help the child. For the first time in a very long time, he was not thinking about being lost. He was thinking about being found. The walk to the station master's office was long. The main corridor was a river of noise and movement. Jinwoo felt Mira flinch every time a loud Tauren barged past or a service drone buzzed too close. Her small hand stayed tightly curled in the fabric of his pants pocket. He walked with his body angled, trying to shield her from the worst of the crowd that he did not speak. He just moved steadily forward, a fixed point in the chaos for her to follow. Her thoughts brushed against his mind, not in words, but in feelings. A spike of fear at a sudden noise, a wave of confusion from all the strange smells. Under it all, a deep, tired sadness. They reached the administrative sector. The lights here were a harsh, bright white. The sounds were different, the hum of computers, the clicking of data readers, and the low murmur of official conversations. It felt cold. The station master's office had a wide window looking out over the docking arms. Inside, Station Master Kale was a mountain of a Tauren. He had thick, gray fur and serious, dark eyes behind a small data screen. His large horns swept back from his forehead. He was talking to a Vri clerk, his voice a low rumble. Jinwoo stopped at the doorway. Mira pressed herself against his leg, hiding slightly behind him. Kale finished his conversation and looked up. His eyes went from Jinwoo's face to the small, gray child clinging to him. Yes? What is it? Kale asked, his tone bored. He saw problems all day long. We need help, Jinwoo said, his voice calm. He put a gentle hand on Myra's back, urging her to step forward a little. This is Mira. She is illusion. She became separated from her guardian, a male cousin, at Gate 4 approximately 3 station days ago. He has not arrived. She has been alone since. Kale's heavy brow furrowed. He let out a long sigh that sounded like steam escaping. Unattached juvenile, he muttered, more to himself than to them. He turned to his console, his thick fingers tapping on the screen. Name of the Guardian? Ship ID. Mira looked up at Jinwoo, her eyes wide. She did not speak Galactic trade well. Jinwoo crouched down beside her. Can you tell me your cousin's name? Or the ship you were on? He asked softly. Myra's temple lights pulsed. A clear image formed in Jinwoo's mind. It was a series of symbols, not letters, but graceful loops and dots. An illusion name. Following it was the visual memory of a ship side, with its registration code painted in bold, galactic standard numerals. Her cousin's name is Elian, Jinwoo said, turning back to Kale. Their ship was the Gentle Current. Registry ST-7794 Lambda. Kale input the data. They waited. Myra's small hand found Jinwoo's. Her skin was cool and soft. He gave her fingers a slight squeeze. He watched Kale's face. He saw the Tauren's expression change from boredom to a frown, and then to a look of mild frustration. The Gentle Current, Kale grunted. Yes, it made its scheduled stop at Gate 4, 3 days ago. It departed 8 hours later for its next waypoint. Without her guardian? Jinwoo asked. According to this, her guardian, this Elian, never disembarked. The ship's log shows a medical alert was filed mid-jump after departure. A failure of the life support systems in the passenger wing. Non-lethal, but it caused a deep stasis quarantine for all occupants as a precaution. Kale looked at Mira. Your cousin is still on that ship, child. Asleep. He could not meet you. The ship itself is now stalled at the repair yard at Orion Minor. It will be there for at least another standard week. Myra's understanding came to Jinwoo as a wave of cold dread. Her lights flickered out for a second, then came back as a dull, hopeless gray. She was alone. Her only family was trapped on a broken ship, far away. So, procedure, Kale said, his voice returning to its bored official tone. We placed the juvenile in the unattached minor's holding facility. She will be cared for there until the guardian's situation is resolved and he can be contacted. He began typing again, pulling up a new form. Jinwoo had seen the holding facility once, when delivering a cargo of blankets. It was a clean, bright, soulless place. Rooms with 6 small beds. A common area with educational screens. It was for orphans, for lost children, for problems. The workers there were kind but overworked. It was a place you waited in. A place you were stored. He looked down at Mira. She was staring at the floor, her shoulders slumped. The gray light on her temples was the color of ash. He felt her despair. It was a hollow, echoing feeling. It was a feeling he knew better than anyone in the room. A memory flashed. Not of Sujin on the mountain, but of Sujin in their small apartment on Earth. She was holding a neighbor's lost kitten, soothing it, her voice a soft murmur. Everyone deserves a safe place to wait, she had said. Kale finished his form. All right, I will call a security officer to escort her to the facility. She will be fine there. He reached for his comm unit. No, Jinwoo said. The word was quiet, but firm. It stopped Kale's hand. The Tauren looked up, annoyed. What do you mean, no? This is the protocol. It exists for a reason. Jinwoo stood up straight. Mira looked up at him, her silver eyes confused. He kept his hand on her shoulder. That facility is for children with no one, Jinwoo said. She has someone. She has me. Kale snorted. You? You are a freight handler. You are not family. You are not even the same species. I am a responsible adult on this station, Jinwoo replied, his mind working quickly. He had read the rules. He had nothing but time to read during long cargo hauls. Under Interstellar Convention, Annex 7, regarding the temporary custodial care of displaced non-citizen minors, a station-registered adult can assume temporary guardianship if they pass a basic background check and if it is deemed in the child's best interest. It is used for diplomats' children sometimes, to avoid institutional trauma. Kale stared at him. The human knew the rules. This was unusual. Your quarters are not rated for a multi-species juvenile. They are clean, safe, and contain no hazards. I can pass a background check right now. My record is clear. Jinwoo's heart was beating faster, but his voice stayed calm. You are busy. The facility is full. This solves a problem for you. And it is better for her. He looked down at Mira. It is better for her. Kale was silent for a long moment. He looked from the determined human to the terrified illusion child. The paperwork for the facility was a headache. The paperwork for this temporary custody might be less of a headache. He was a practical being. 72 hours, Kale rumbled finally. A temporary order. I will run your background now. If it clears, you take her. You are responsible for her food, safety, and well-being. In 72 hours, we reevaluate. If the cousin is not here by then, she goes to the facility. No arguments. Jinwoo nodded. 72 hours. The check was fast. Jinwoo had never caused any trouble. He paid his fees. He did his job. In minutes, it was done. Kale printed a small chip. This is a temporary custody pass. It will get her into your residential sector. Do not lose it. Jinwoo took the chip. He looked down at Mira. Her temple lights were now a pale, questioning blue. She did not understand all the words, but she understood the feeling. The scary Tauran was not taking her to the bad place. Mr. Human was. We are going with you? Her thought whispered in his mind. Yes, Jinwoo said softly. We are going to my room. It is small, but it is quiet, and it is safe. He offered his hand again. This time, after a moment's hesitation, Mira placed her small gray hand in his. Her fingers wrapped around his thumb. They walked out of the bright, cold office together. The weight on Jinwoo was different now. It was not the heavy grief of the past. It was the light, terrifying weight of responsibility for the present. He was not lost anymore. He had a purpose. For the next 72 hours, he was someone's safe place to wait. Jinwoo's quarters were not what anyone would call a home. It was a small, square room. There was a narrow bed, a storage locker, a tiny desk, and a wall unit that served as a kitchen and sanitizer. Everything was gray or beige, the color of the station itself. It was clean but empty. It looked like a place where someone slept and nothing more. Mira stood just inside the doorway, her silver eyes taking everything in. She still held Jinwoo's thumb. Her thoughts were a quiet, cautious hum in his mind. It is very straight, she thought. Illusion homes were apparently not made of straight lines and sharp corners. Yes, Jinwoo agreed. He let go of her hand and walked in, feeling suddenly awkward. This room was his private hole, a place to hide from the world. Now there was a child in it. You can sit anywhere. On the bed is fine. Mira shuffled forward and climbed onto the edge of the bed. She sat with her feet dangling, her hands in her lap. She looked small and out of place. Jinwoo realized she was still wearing the same dirty silver tunic. He had nothing that would fit her. First, food. He went to the wall unit. He had standard station rations, but he also had a small personal stash. Things from Earth he ordered for too many credits. He took out a packet of dried seaweed, a container of rice, and a small jar of gochujang paste. He had some vegetables, too. A little wilted but still good. He filled a small pot with water from the dispenser and set it to heat. He began to chop the vegetables. The simple, familiar actions calmed him. Chop, slice, stir. He did not look at Mira for a few minutes. When he did, he saw her watching his hands. Fascinated. The rhythmic sound of the knife on the plastic board seemed to hold her attention. "What are you making?" she asked in his head. "It is called a stew," Jinwoo said. "It is food from my home. From Korea. It is warm and soft. It will be good for you." He hoped it would not be too spicy for her. He cooked quietly. The room began to fill with a smell that was utterly foreign to Waystation Kepri. It was the smell of garlic, of fermented chili, of sesame oil. It was a smell from Earth. From his past. He poured the finished stew into 2 bowls. He handed one to Mira along with a spoon. He sat on the floor, leaning against the storage locker with his own bowl. Mira looked at the red broth, the chunks of vegetable and tofu. She looked at Jinwoo, then carefully dipped her spoon in. She blew on it, as she must have seen others do, and took a small taste. Her reaction was immediate. Her temple lights, which had been a steady pale blue, exploded into a frantic, dazzling orange and yellow. Her eyes widened. She gasped, but she did not spit it out. She swallowed. "It is hot," her thought came, shocked. "Not temperature hot. A different hot. It is on my tongue." Jinwoo almost smiled. It was the closest he had come in years. "It is the spice. Is it too much? I can get you something else." Mira took another, more careful spoonful. Her lights swirled, now more curious than alarmed.
"No."
"It is interesting. It makes my mouth feel awake." She took another bite. "It is good. Feels strong. Like your thoughts." Jinwoo ate his own stew. The taste was a memory. Tasted like a kitchen on Earth. Tasted like before. They ate in silence for a while, the only sound the clink of spoons on bowls. When she was done, Mira looked much better. Some color seemed to come back to her gray skin. Her lights were a calm, content green. She held the empty bowl in her lap. The silence stretched. Jinwoo did not know what to do next. What did you do with a child? He thought of the hollow look in her eyes when Kale mentioned the facility. "Would you like to see something?" he asked suddenly. The words were out before he could stop them. Mira nodded, her lights pulsing yes. Jinwoo went to his desk. In a drawer, under datapads and station manuals, was a small, flat object. A real, physical photograph in a thin frame. He had not looked at it in a long time. He brought it back and sat on the floor near the bed, holding it so she could see. It was a picture of him and Sujin. They were on a mountain trail, wrapped in thick jackets. Behind them was a breathtaking view of valleys and peaks covered in fiery red and gold autumn leaves. Sujin was laughing, her eyes squeezed shut against the sun. Jinwoo had his arm around her, and he was smiling a real, easy smile that he barely recognized. "This is Searaxin," he said, his voice soft. "A mountain on my homeworld. This was my wife, Sujin." Mira leaned close, her eyes studying the picture. "The colors are loud," she thought, amazed. "Not like here. And you are different." "Yes," Jinwoo said. "That was a long time ago. Where is she now?" Jinwoo took a slow breath. "She became very sick. The doctors could not fix it. She died." Mira was quiet for a moment. Her lights dimmed to a sympathetic soft purple, the color of twilight on her homeworld. She did not send feelings of pity. She sent a feeling of quiet understanding. A feeling of missing a color that was gone from the world. "I am sorry," her thought whispered. Then she pointed a delicate finger at the picture. "But that day was a good day. I can see it. You are holding the good day in your hands." Her words were so simple, so true. He was holding a good day. He had been focusing on the loss, on the end. Mira saw the day itself. Something tight in Jinwoo's chest loosened, just a little. He put the picture on the floor between them. "Would you like to hear the music from that day?" he asked. "We listened to it on the hike." Mira nodded eagerly. Jinwoo called up an old music file on his datapad. It was a folk song, just a woman's voice and a gentle guitar. The melody was sweet and a little sad, but full of warmth. He pressed play. The soft music filled the quiet room. Jinwoo closed his eyes, letting the memory of the cold mountain air and the warmth of Sujin beside him wash over him. This time it did not hurt as much. When he opened his eyes, he saw Mira. She was sitting perfectly still, her head tilted. Her luminous silver eyes were half closed. And on her temples, her biological lights were no longer just pulsing. They were flowing. They swirled in gentle patterns, soft blues and greens and purples, rising and falling in perfect, beautiful time with the melody of the song. She was not just hearing the music. She was feeling it, and her body was painting it in light that it was the most beautiful thing Jinwoo had seen since he left Earth. He did not speak. He just watched and he listened, and for the first time in his small gray room, the silence was not empty. It was full of color and music and a fragile, growing peace. The lost man and the lost girl were not talking. They were just sharing a good day held in a song, and that was enough. The next morning, Jinwoo woke up to a soft light. Mira was already awake. She was sitting on the floor, the photograph from Siraxin in her small hands. She was staring at it, her temple lights a calm, thoughtful blue. She had slept on his bed, wrapped in his spare work jacket. Jinwoo had slept on the floor, his back against the door, as if standing guard. That he moved slowly, and she looked up. "Good morning, Mr. Human." Her thought came, clear and polite. "Good morning, Mira," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "Did you rest?" The room was quiet. My thoughts were quiet too. "Thank you." They ate a simple breakfast of station nutrient bars. Jinwoo knew he had to go to work. He could not leave Mira alone in the room all day, and taking her to the dangerous docking bay was not safe. He had an idea. "Today, I have to work for a few hours," he explained. "But my friend Chul works nearby. He is kind. You can stay with him in his office. It is boring, but it is safe. And after, I have a place I want to show you." Myra's lights flickered with a bit of fear at the idea of a new person. But she trusted Jinwoo. She nodded. Chul's office was a small room full of shipping manifests and screen monitors. Chul was surprised to see Jinwoo with a little illusion girl, but his face quickly softened into a warm smile. He asked no difficult questions. "You just sit here, little one," Chul said, clearing a spot on a padded crate. "You can watch the screens. They show ships coming and going. Very boring for me. Maybe interesting for you." Jinwoo crouched down. "I will be back soon. Be good for Chul." "I will," Mira thought, giving him a small, serious nod. The work shift felt longer than usual. Jinwoo's mind was not on the cargo seals and manifests. It was in a small office, wondering if Mira was scared. He worked fast and efficiently, finishing his tasks in record time. When he returned, he found Mira perched on the crate, perfectly still, watching a monitor that showed a slow dance of starships against the blackness of space. Chul gave Jinwoo a thumbs up. "Quiet as a mouse," Chul whispered. "No trouble at all." Jinwoo felt a surge of relief. "Thank you, Chul." "I saw a ship with 3 spinning rings," Mira thought to him as they left. "It was beautiful." "I have a different place to show you," Jinwoo said. He led her not to the residential sector, but back to the botanical atrium. But this time, he did not go to sit on the bench. He walked to a service panel on the wall, entered a worker's code, and opened a small storage closet. Inside were simple tools: a watering can, small clippers, nutrient packets, and soft cloths. He took the can and a cloth. "This is my other job sometimes," he said. "I help take care of the plants. They need water. They need their leaves cleaned so they can breathe the light." He handed her the soft cloth. "Would you like to help?" Myra's silver eyes shone. She took the cloth. "I can help." For the next hour, they moved slowly through the atrium. Jinwoo showed her how to gently support a leaf and wipe its surface. He let her carefully pour water at the base of the ferns from Earth. He named the plants he knew. "This one is from a place on Earth that is always warm and wet. It rains every day. This fungus glows because it eats a special kind of rock from its home. Be very gentle with this one. Its leaves are soft, like your tunic." Mira was a careful student. She mimicked his movements exactly. As she worked, she began to communicate with the plants in her own way. She would hum a little, and the lights on her temples would pulse a soft, green frequency. Jinwoo noticed the plants seemed to lean slightly toward her when she did this. "They are listening," she explained simply. They are slow listeners, but they hear. Jinwoo believed her. He watched her. This small gray child tending to green and purple life under fake sun lamps, and he felt a strange sense of rightness. This was not grand or exciting. It was watering plants. But it was real. It was a good thing to do. After they put the tools away, they sat on the bench. Myra's tunic was a little damp, and she had a smudge of soil on her cheek. She looked content. "You are a good helper," Jinwoo said. "I like it here," she thought. "It is a good room. It is like the picture, but with more green and less loud red." Jinwoo nodded. He had come here to hide. Now, with Mira, it felt different. Felt like a garden. That night, back in his quarters, Jinwoo tried something new. He used his data pad to pull up not music, but images. Pictures of Earth's biomes. Vast blue oceans. Sandy deserts. Frozen tundras. Lush rainforests. He explained them to Mira as best he could. She was fascinated. Her lights dancing with the colors on the screen. In return, she tried to explain her home. She sent him feelings of cool, soft moss underfoot. The taste of morning dew from a silver leaf tree. The peaceful, shared silence of her family's evening meditation, where their lights would all pulse together in a slow, calm rhythm. It was not a grand adventure. There were no chases or battles. It was two lost beings, from different worlds, sharing the simple things they remembered. Sharing what home felt like. As Mira fell asleep on the bed, her lights dimming to a soft sleep rhythm, Jinwoo sat on the floor. He looked at his hands. They had fixed cargo seals today. They had also watered plants and shown pictures to a child. They felt more useful than they had in years. He thought about Station Master Kale's deadline. The 72 hours were passing. The cousin's ship was still broken, light years away. A low worry sat in his gut, but it was joined by a new feeling. A fierce, protective resolve. This quiet time, this simple act of care, was not nothing. It was everything. For the first time since Sujin, his quiet was not an empty one. It was a quiet full of soft light and growing green things. He would not let that be taken away easily. He would find a way. The third day began with a problem. Myra's tunic was dirty, and she had nothing else to wear. Jinwoo stared at his own clothes in the storage locker. His shirts would be like dresses on her, and his pants impossible. He had an idea. He took one of his softest undershirts, a simple gray one, with careful cuts from a small toolkit knife and some strong bonding tape from a repair kit. He fashioned a crude but clean tunic for her. It was baggy and the sleeves were too long, but it was fresh. Mira put it on, rolling the sleeves up many times. Her lights shimmered with amusement. "It smells like you," she thought, "like salt and the plant room." "That is not a very nice smell," Jinwoo said. "It is a safe smell," she replied, and that was the end of it. They went to the atrium again in the morning. It was becoming their routine. As they watered the ferns, a Terran dockworker Jinwoo knew only by sight lumbered past. He stopped, his large nostrils flaring. He looked at Jinwoo, then at the little illusion girl carefully wiping a leaf. "Heard a rumor," the Terran grunted. His voice was like stones rolling. "About a human and a lost kit. This it?" Jinwoo straightened up, putting himself slightly between the worker and Mira. "She is with me." The Terran stared for a long moment. Then he gave a slow, deep nod. "Good," he rumbled simply. He walked on. Later, at the station's food court, Jinwoo used some of his credits to buy a sweet fruit paste he thought Mira might like. The vendor, a slender being with many arms, looked at Mira, then at Jinwoo. As she handed over the paste, she included an extra packet. "For the little light," she chirped. "No charge." Small things. A nod. An extra treat. The story was spreading, not as news, but as a quiet whisper through the station's lower decks. The human from Docking Arm 7 was caring for the lost illusion child. Not as a hero, but as a fact. It was a small, curious piece of goodness in a busy, indifferent place. But the clock was ticking. The 72 hours would be up the next morning. After their quiet time in the atrium, Jinwoo went to see Chul alone. leaving Mira to draw on a spare data pad with her finger. "The cousin's ship?" Jinwoo said, his voice low. "The gentle current. It is stuck at Orion Minor. Is there any way to get a message through? A real one, not just a station alert." Chul scratched his head. "Official channels are slow, but the dockworkers' network is faster. We hear things." He turned to his console, typing quickly. "My cousin's wife's brother drives a repair tug out that way. Let me send a ping." Unofficial. For a few tense hours, there was nothing. Jinwoo went through the motions with Mira, but his mind was far away. He was already thinking of the sterile holding facility, of her gray lights dimming with fear. His resolve hardened into a cold, sharp edge. He would not let that happen. Late in the evening, as Jinwoo was showing Mira how to make a simple knot with a piece of string, Chul's message chimed on his data PIT was short. "Contact made." Tug crew spoke to Gentle Current's engineer. "Guardian Elian is in stasis but safe. Ship's main drive is fried. Waiting on a part. Estimate: 5 more days minimum until they can jump. No way to get here faster. Sorry, Jinwoo. 5 more days." The station master had given them only until morning. Jinwoo felt the news like a physical blow. He looked at Mira, who was concentrating fiercely on her knot, her tongue poking out slightly. She had just managed to tie it. She held it up, her lights glowing with proud pink. "Look, it holds. It is perfect," Jinwoo said, his voice thick. He had to clear his throat. The joy in her light was a knife in his heart. He had no more tricks, no more obscure rules to quote. The station's protocol would take her in the morning. That night, he could not sleep. He lay on the floor, listening to Myra's soft, sleeping breaths. He watched the gentle, rhythmic pulse of her temple lights in the dark. They were a soft blue-green, like deep, calm water. He had promised her a safe place to wait. He had promised himself he would not fail. A plan formed in his mind. It was not a good plan. It was desperate. When morning came, he would not take her to the station master. He would hide her. He would call in sick from work. He would use his worker codes to access the quieter maintenance corridors. They could hide in the lower levels near the recycling plants, maybe. It would be cold and unpleasant, but she would be with him. They could last 5 days. They would have to. It was a foolish, risky plan. He could lose his job, be fined, maybe even be sent off the station. But the thought of handing her over to that cold, bright facility, of seeing her light go out, was worse. He must have finally slept, because he woke to the sharp beep of his door chime. Morning light was on the schedule panel. Time was up. Mira sat up in bed, blinking. Her lights were a sleepy, soft yellow. The chime beeped again. Impatient. Jinwoo's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. Kale or security had come for her. His desperate plan seemed silly now. He could not fight station security. He stood up, his body tense. He looked at Mira, trying to think of what to say. He opened the door. It was not Station Master Kale. It was Chul. And behind him, filling the corridor, were others. The Terran dockworker from the atrium. The many-armed food vendor. 2 other human loaders from the adjacent bays. A VRI clerk he recognized from logistics. They stood there, an awkward, silent crowd. Chul spoke first. "We heard about the ship being delayed." The Tauran stepped forward. He held a large, coarse-woven bag. "Blankets," he grunted. "For the kit. The holding facility ones are thin." The food vendor extended a limb, offering a container of the sweet fruit paste. "For her breakfast," she chirped. Chul looked Jinwoo straight in the eye. "We're all going to the station master. A whole shift of us. We'll vouch for you. We'll tell him she stays with you. It's better. He's a practical guy. He doesn't want a scene. He doesn't want a petition." Jinwoo was stunned. He could not speak. These people, they barely knew him. They were just faces on the station. But they had seen, and they had decided, together, to act. Mira climbed off the bed and came to stand beside Jinwoo, holding onto his pants pocket. She looked up at the crowd of strange aliens, her silver eyes wide. She saw the blankets, the food, the determined look on Chul's face. She felt the intention. Her temple lights, which had been a pale morning yellow, began to glow, not with fear, but with a warm, brilliant gold, a color Jinwoo had never seen before. It was the color of gratitude, of wonder, of seeing an unexpected sunrise. The quiet act of care had not gone unnoticed. It had created ripples. And now, the ripples had become a wave, standing outside his door, ready to push back against the indifferent rules of the universe. Jinwoo was not alone in this fight. They all were. The small crowd moved through the corridors of Waystation Kepri. Jinwoo walked at the front, Myra's hand firmly in his. The Tauran, the vendor, Chul, and the others followed, a quiet, serious procession. People stopped to stare. This was not a normal sight. They reached Station Master Kale's office. The door was open. Kale was at his desk, sipping from a large mug. He looked up and his eyes widened slightly at the group gathered in his doorway. "What is this?" Kale asked, his voice wary. "A protest." Jinwoo stepped forward, Mira beside him. "You said 72 hours. Then we would reevaluate. The gentle current is still broken. It needs 5 more days at least." Kale sighed, a long, tired sound. "Then you know the procedure. The child goes to the holding facility." This was the agreement. Chul spoke up from behind Jinwoo. "With respect, Station Master, that's a bad idea." Kale's gaze shifted to the dockworker. "Is it?" The Tauran stepped forward, placing the bag of blankets on Kale's desk with a soft thump. "The kit is calm with him. She is healthy. She is not afraid. Look at her." All eyes turned to Mira. She was not hiding behind Jinwoo. She stood straight, holding his hand, her temple lights glowing that steady, warm gold. She looked at Kale, not with fear, but with a simple, clear curiosity. The food vendor chirped. "She eats. She smiles with her lights. He cares for her. Why move her to a cold room with strangers?" Kale looked from one face to another. He was a practical being. His job was to keep things running smoothly with minimal trouble. A child crying in the facility, a paperwork headache, maybe a complaint from the illusion government later, that was trouble. This unusual but stable arrangement, backed by a small crowd of his workers, looked like less trouble that he leaned back in his chair. "And who will be responsible? What if something happens?" "I will," Jinwoo said immediately. His voice was strong. "We all will," Chul added. "We'll check in. We'll help. We are her station crew." Kale was silent for a full minute, his dark eyes studying them. He looked at Mira again. He saw a lost child who did not look lost anymore. He saw a human who no longer looked like a ghost. Finally, he grunted. "Fine. An extension. For 5 station days. Or until the Guardian arrives. Same rules apply. She is your responsibility, human. Her safety, her health, her peace. If there is one problem, one single incident, this ends." "Understood." A wave of relief washed through Jinwoo. He bowed his head slightly. "Understood. Thank you." The small crowd behind him relaxed. The Tauren gave a satisfied nod. The 5 days passed not as a tense wait, but as a gentle routine. Jinwoo worked shorter shifts. Mira spent time with Chul or with the friendly food vendor. In the afternoons, they went to the atrium. Myra's favorite fern grew a new, bright green frond. Then, on the 6th morning, the message came. The gentle current had made its jump. It would dock at Gate 4 in 3 hours. The news was a stone in Jinwoo's stomach. He had known this day would come, but knowing did not make it easier. He told Mira softly as they sat in the atrium. Her brilliant gold lights dimmed to a soft, sad blue. "My cousin is coming?" "Yes," Jinwoo said. "He will be here soon. Then I must go home." "Yes," Jinwoo whispered. "You must go home." They did not go to Gate 4. They waited in the botanical atrium. It was where they had met. It felt right to say goodbye there. When the call came that the Guardian had arrived and was cleared, Jinwoo led Mira to the administrative sector one last time. A tall, slender illusion male stood with Kale. He had the same silver eyes and smooth gray skin. He looked anxious and tired, but his temple lights flared a bright, relieved white when he saw Mira. "Mira!" he cried out in galactic trade. Kneeling and opening his arms, Mira ran to him. He held her tightly, his lights swirling in a complex pattern of apology, love, and overwhelming relief. They spoke quickly in their own soft, melodic language, their thoughts too fast and private for Jinwoo's implant to follow. Jinwoo stood back, his hands at his sides. His job was done. The lost thing had been returned. The hollow feeling threatened to return, bigger than before. Then, Mira turned. She walked back to Jinwoo. She looked up at him, her eyes serious. She did not speak with words. Instead, she reached up and placed her small, cool hands on the sides of his face. On his temples, her touch was gentle. Her eyes closed. A warmth flooded Jinwoo's mind. It was not a thought or an image at first. It was a pure feeling. It was the feeling of safety, the feeling of a quiet room, the taste of salty stew, the sound of old music. It was the color green. Then, a memory surfaced. But it was his memory, the memory of Siraxan Mountain, the red and gold leaves, the cold air, Sujin's laughing face. But Myra's mind touched the memory, and she did not see the loss at the end of it. She saw only the breathtaking beauty of the moment, the fierce joy of it. She showed it back to him, polished by her perception, brighter and more beautiful than he had let himself remember for years. She filled the old memory with the peace of the atrium, with the warmth of the simple stew, with the golden light of gratitude. It was a gift. She had taken his care, his quiet sadness, and she had transformed it. She had given him back his own good day, healed. Her hands dropped. Her temple lights glowed with a final, soft silver gleam, like a star. "You are not lost now, Mr. Human," her voice whispered in his mind, clear and certain. Then she turned and took her cousin's hand. With one last look over her shoulder, a look that held a universe of feeling, she was led away. Jinwoo stood still for a long time. He felt tears on his cheeks, but they were not the same tears he had known. They were not only of loss, they were of release, of being found. He walked back to his quarters. The room was silent. He saw the small, bonded tape tunic she had left folded neatly on his bed. He picked it up. It still smelled like her, like clean, cool air and soft light. He sat at his small desk. He opened a new file on his datapad. For years, his personal log had been empty. The cursor blinked. He began to type. For Sujin and for Mira, a guide to not being lost. Step 1. Look for the one who is more lost than you. He continued writing, the words coming easily. Outside, the station hummed its endless, indifferent song. But inside the small, gray room, a man who had crossed the stars to escape his grief finally stopped running. He was home, not because of a place, but because a little alien girl had found him, and in finding him had shown him how to find himself. The universe was vast and cold, but in a quiet corner of it, a human heart had remembered how to shine.